Soccer is one of the biggest sports in the entire world. The World Authority of Soccer is the organization called FIFA, with over 300,000 clubs and 205 member organizations and over 240 million registered players over the entire world, with fan participation going into the billions. So it's safe to say that about 1/6 of the world at one point played soccer. The big problem with soccer games going on today, recently actually, this past World Cup, was a problem with a lot of calls going on that were very controversial, and no one really seemed to be able to figure out what happened. And there's actually a reason for that. Over a couple of years, people have actually been toying with the idea of introducing instant replay technology and goal line technology in order to be able to determine precisely and accurately what exactly happened and what is actually going on. This topic is very touchy with some fans with soccer. People try to say it's very unnecessary, but you have to reference two laws in soccer. Law 5 and 11. Law 5 has to do with the referee and his authority over the game. The referee, actually, according to the official laws of FIFA Soccer, the referee may only change a decision upon the realizing that it is incorrect or at his discretion on the advice of an assistant referee or a fourth official, provided that he has not restarted play or terminated the match. And the decisions of the referee regarding the facts connected to play, including whether or not a goal is scored or the result of the match, is up to him. So he holds ultimate authority on whether or not he calls a play or a play, so no one can actually challenge him on that. The law number 11 is actually more complicated than that. It's one that deals with offside, and it's a very big controversy because it's very hard to determine what is offside, and usually they get it wrong. One of the biggest controversies recently was the World Cup and a game versus USA versus Algeria game, in which he was marked offside. It was debated whether or not he was offside. And another one was Mexico versus Argentina and Holland versus Uruguay, when there's a lot of controversial calls there. Other issues. Another issue is the goal line issue, which means it's very hard to determine whether or not the ball went over a goal line or not. So they wanted to employ this kind of technology, but people are always resistant to it. There was a game, England versus Germany, during this past year's World Cup, where the ball hit inside the goal line, but it was not counted because the referee did not see it. The pitch is actually over 100 yards long, and there's only two referees on each side, and it's very hard to see when you have to be running back and forth. Another problem with this is the handball, is when a player touches the ball with any part of his hand from the elbow down, and this is going to create lots of problems. The most famous of which is the hand of God, which was in 1986 World Cup in the game versus Argentina and England, where Diego Maradona, he actually punched a ball into the goal, and no one saw it. He got away with it. He was able to score a goal, score a victory 2-1 over England, and it became a legendary move called the Hand of God. And another one was in a qualification match with Ireland and France, where a player hit the ball with his hand and enabled his team to score a goal, but wasn't really noticed because the officials weren't able to determine whether or not it was actually a handball or not. Instant replay has been applied to other sports, the most famous of which is football, where the coach can challenge, has 2 challenges a game, and is able to challenge the plays by the referees. It's also used in baseball to determine home runs, but is used most effectively in tennis in line disputes, where a player gets to challenge a call. Gets two challenges per set, and is able to challenge whether or not, and if the challenge is upheld, then that means he keeps his challenges. The challenge takes around 10 seconds to be reviewed before a decision is made, so it is very effective. So it's very easy to see why there could be a lot of confusion onto why instant replay should be applied. It should be applied because there's about 22 players on the field at one time, and it is very difficult to see what's going on when you are running up and down the field.
All right, Edgar, let me start with a couple of things that you did really well. You had a lot of example evidence that you cited, and you talked about some factual data in the presentation, and you cited that as well. But there's a big problem here, and that is I don't know what your claim is for the first 5 minutes and 40 seconds of the speech. I know what your subject is, and I know you're explaining why there are controversies on it, but I don't know what position you're taking on that point until you get to the end of the speech. You don't have a declarative propositional statement at the beginning of the speech. Now, there is an organizational structure during the speech, but it's not laid out in a preview, so that makes it a little bit harder to follow. You're not using numerical signposts on those secondary points. You just have a transition that says, and another thing is, and another thing is, which means that it's very easy for those things to run together, because if you use that phrase, another thing, people might think that you were going to another one of your supporting points when you're really just presenting another example or a piece of factual information. So it needs a lot more structure in the presentation. You're not really making any inferences. When you finally do get to the claim, which comes right at the end of the speech, and that is that we ought to be doing this, that's a claim of policy, not a claim of fact. You need a claim of fact that talks about something as simple as the need for instant replay. You could say there's a substantial need for instant replay. Number one, errors occur in the game. Number two, the errors make a difference in the outcomes of the game. Number three, it undermines the integrity of the game. Therefore, there's a need for instant replay. It's not that hard to put the information together if you can structure it a little bit, but you haven't really done that. I think most of us will be able to infer what your argument is here, but from a communication point of view, that's really problematic right now. All right, thank you for going first. We do appreciate it.